Teamster Power 767 Reality Check with Jeff Schenfeld and Garfield Hooper. How's it going today, Garfield?
It's going pretty good. Pretty lazy Sunday for me. How about you?
Oh, just relaxing, just doing some things around the house,
Yeah.
So, but what I want to get right to today, and two things. Okay, we've talked about this before, but like we said everything is always gets brought up again because the company keeps violating it.
Yep.
We're going to talk
Okay.
about two things: um, Article 24 and Article 21. Article 24 is inspection privileges, and Article 21 is union activity. So, but what'd you have to say, Garfield?
Oh, it's just the company's always coming up with new ways to violate the contract. So, like, more examples
Oh
we can
yeah.
provide for you, the better you may be able to apply this to your own situations.
Yes, yes. And the company is they keep trying to change things and we need to adapt.
Yeah.
Okay? I think that's one of the biggest problems and I think, we need to adapt. So first we're going to start off with Article 24 inspection privileges. So, right, Garfield.
Yeah,
What is
Article 24 reads, authorized agents of the union shall have access to the employer's establishment during working hours for the purpose of adjusting disputes, investigating working conditions, collection of dues, and ascertaining the agreement is being adhered to, provided, however, that there is no interruption of the employer's working schedule.
there have been plenty of times where, I've gone into the building and they'll try to say, "Oh, you're interfering." Okay, how am I interfering? I mean, I just look at them. I mean, you can't just say things and not, you got to back it up. I wasn't interfering with anyone.
Yeah.
And, you're allowed to inspect and, it's like anything else. Like we've used this example before. Um, okay, you go into the building, oh, and they'll ask people, "Oh, do you have a control number?" You don't need a control number from a grievance. Hey, guess what? We're inspecting the building where we hear that there's supervisors working, right? Or egress issues. And they're like, just "Well, where?" And what you should say is the whole building, because if you say one spot, again, it's going to they'll just, they'll narrow it down. Just say the whole building. That's it.
Yep.
Every steward needs to know that. Again, we've said this before, we're gonna say it again because repetition is important, okay? And there are certain things that, we should be able to do. I mean, we have to investigate working conditions. I mean, God knows during the summer, I mean,
Yeah.
that's so important, especially, not that it's important the rest of the year, but it's so, so important with the heat and everything going on. And I mean, have they ever stopped you, Garfield? I mean, have
Uh,
they ever said anything when you
no,
wanna come
they've
in?
never actually come. They've never actually prevented me from doing anything, and I'll do this every once in a while on local sort. Like when I get in from the building, I'll go punch out and then I'll take a walk around, make sure
Yeah.
supervisors aren't working, make sure that we don't have like trailers piled up, things like that.
Yeah, yeah, and only a lot of times they'll go after stewards who may be newer or whatnot, so this is our way of educating stewards, who I mean, I don't know if you're getting the education that, right now, it doesn't seem that way, a lot of them are getting the education they need, and, this is something where you have to understand is this is the way you get into the building, don't they can't say, "Oh, a control number." That's not the way this works. Hey, we're
Well,
looking at different conditions, and they're all over the building, and that's it. And, they can't just try to I mean, they can try, but everyone should know this. They shouldn't be able to go to any of the students say that. Every one of them should know the answer, what to say, okay? And if there's another way that, your local might do that, then okay, that's fine. But this is the way, we do it here, and I mean, it works. We know a lot of places that do it like this, so it works. But this is where it ties into union activity. I mean, if they're not letting you do the inspection privileges, or let's say you just want to do certain things and separately, let's say you in different situation you file a grievance, right? And then they bring it to you and they say, "Why did you file this?" This, and what do you mean, why did I file this? Why are you bringing this to me? And then they start basically harassing you.
yep.
They're basically violating Article 21 with union activity. So if they're violating your inspection privileges, Article 24, and they're violating Article 21 union activity. I mean, it's a problem. I mean, I'm just amazed that they would even like, sometimes go after that, like, and just actually blatantly do that. But if you have, people, who are, we had proactive representation, then it probably wouldn't happen. But it's happening. And I know this has happened with the grievances and has anyone have any situations where that's happened where any members, that basically using the grievance against someone, like, "Why did you file this?" Has that happened to you or anyone with that?
Not so blatantly, but the company will obviously use your grievances against you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that filing grievances doesn't put a target on your back, because it does. I've been filing grievances for years. I've been a steward for years. I always tell my guys that I have a target permanently painted on my back, which is why I make sure I wear the uniform every day, which is why I make sure I do things right. I'm here to be the target. So, like, and I tell people, like, if you don't feel like filing a grievance for whatever reason, give me the information. I'll file it on your behalf. I could just tell him, hey, he had a conversation with me about it, and I felt strongly enough about it that I needed to file a grievance on his behalf because of it. Especially right now when the company's terminating people for bullshit reasons or finding any reason to terminate somebody because they feel like they can't lay enough people off or this or that or whatever. And, they'll be like, oh, well, this guy's filing a lot of 9-5 grievances. We'll just terminate him. And he'll sit out for a couple of weeks for some bullshit reason or a couple of months. And, when he comes back, he'll be scared and won't file grievances anymore.
Oh, that's it, and what do they call it now? What are they, hunting season, they called it?
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what we've been hearing?
Yeah.
It's hunting season. Well, guess what? It's hunting season both ways, okay? It's hunting season both ways. I'm not going to sit back and just accept that. And
you can't.
That's the ideal thing. We want every member to be strong enough to go back and say, you're not going to do this. You think you as a manager or a supervisor can do what you want. No, we're coming after you. Okay? It's hunting season both ways. And as stewards, we put ourselves out there and you have to. And, anyone who's been fired and they come back, they should be just as strong. They shouldn't be broken because management did that. And that's something they need to be empowered by. It's just not there right now. And that's what needs to happen. And if everyone's strong, they're not going to be able to just single people out. We're all going to be strong and say, no, you know what? As a supervisor, here's what we're coming after you about, right? That's exactly what it is. And I know you've always been that way, Garfield. I've always been that way since day one. And enough is enough. I mean, enough is enough. We need everyone to be, empowered and educated. It's so important. Everyone needs to be facing the same direction. You know what that direction is? That's it, management. Okay?
Yep.
And it's, and it's just crazy. But, going back to it, with all this, they want to not let you do certain things, or they want to use your grievance against you. That's crazy. That's union activity. 21, and then 37 and 66 as well, because that's harassment. Okay, and you call the corporate hotline as well. You do everything. You do a paper trail. So, enough is enough. I mean, we're just seeing too many of our brothers and sisters be taken out for no reason, and that's it. We got to say enough is enough. Enough is enough. So, but this was obviously important. I mean, and we're going to keep talking about this. If we can get people stronger by doing this podcast, great, great. I mean, that's what it's about. So, but yeah, so I'm glad we talked about it, and so we will, I'm sure, bring this up a bunch of times, before the year's over, because hey, if they're still trying to come after us, well, you know what? We're coming after you. All right. So, everyone, appreciate you listening to the podcast. Have a good day.
We all deal with national language, but on this podcast, when it comes to supplemental language, we deal mostly with the Southern region. And as always, it's best to get advice from your local stewards or business agents. If you would like to reach out to us with any questions, we have an email address, 767realitycheck@gmail.com. That's 767realitycheck@gmail.com.
And remember, strong people stand up for themselves, but the strongest people stand up for others.